Is it working? Audible? Yes. आवाज आ रही है?
So it's good to see you all here. Yes. So I'm happy to welcome all our alumni and students who have joined us this morning. And let me especially welcome our alumni panelists for the discussion today, Mr. Sanjay Gopinath, Ms. Neha Markanda, thank you so much. Mr. Amitabh Patel, and our moderator, Mr. Netritva. We are really grateful for you because you took out time on a Sunday morning to be here with us. And Neha, despite her not so good health, and Mr. Gopinath has come all the way from Bengaluru. Now, Netritva is a relatively new addition to the bouquet of programs that we organize for our alumni around the year. It was first hosted in 2021 when we were in the midst of the pandemic, and yet we wanted to have an event where we could bring all our alumni together. So Netritva was planned as a unique event where we could engage with all our alumni and students on one platform using the virtual, the power of the virtual media to connect. While the grand alumni reunion and the chapter meets that we have every year are in-person get-together and really do not allow all the alumni to participate, it allows us to connect with all our alumni from across the world. We started by making this event, at least the last 3 editions of this event were planned around the International Women's Day, and we tried to celebrate our women alumna for around Netritva. Moving away from this practice, this 4th edition of Netritva, which we are hosting today, we've chosen the theme Unmasking the Human Leader. I must appreciate the students. I mean, this is a really good thing, and I think, you've thought outside the box. So you thought of a very relevant and very intriguing subject where our panelists will talk about the elements of human leadership. And I'm sure you will have a lot of things to learn from here. I think each IIFTian is a leader in the making. And we see our alumni have proven that they are leaders in the making. And I'm confident that today's discussion and experience sharing by the accomplished alumni panel will offer an insightful glimpse into what makes a good leader. So without taking any more time, I welcome you all once again, and I hope you'll enjoy the event and make the most of this opportunity to hear from our alumni leaders on leadership. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your words. Niti ma'am is the inspiration for all the members of the ARC to keep giving their best in each and every event, and we are really grateful to have you, ma'am. Now, without further ado, we request Sanjay sir, Neha ma'am, and Amitabh sir, our guests for today, to kindly occupy the stage.
Our first guest is Mr. Sanjay Gopinath. Mr. Gopinath, an esteemed graduate of IIFT, is recognized for his exceptional ability to merge technology and marketing seamlessly. Currently serving as the head of marketing and communication at MathWorks India, he spearheads the development and execution of marketing strategies while also overseeing the accelerator and startup program. Before his role at MathWorks, he made significant contributions at IBM as well as E&Y, Sonata Software, and Infosys. In the realm of marketing, Mr. Sanjay is regarded as a trailblazer, possessing a profound understanding of consumer behavior and market dynamics. His expertise in B2B marketing is unparalleled, enriched by a wealth of insights that showcase his depth of knowledge. And dare I say, he's quite the personality on Twitter. One needs to take only a look at his timeline and one would understand what we exactly mean. I request Neeti ma'am to kindly welcome Mr. Sanjay Gupta.
Our second guest is Ms. Neha Markanda. Ms. Neha Markanda is an alumnus of MBA IB batch of 2003, and she has completed her BCom from Lady Shri Ram College in the year 2000. With over 2 decades of experience in marketing and business strategy, she is currently serving as the head of industry and e-commerce at Google, based in Gurugram. Before her role at Google, she led impactful marketing initiatives as the head of business marketing at Facebook. Ms. Neha Markanda has also had leadership positions at renowned companies like GSK Consumer Healthcare India, where she served as the general manager for Horlicks and PepsiCo, where she excelled as brand manager for Tropicana, Pepsi Max, and Gatorade. Her diverse background spans various industries, including technology, consumer goods, and healthcare, showcasing her adaptability and expertise in driving business growth. I request Neeti ma'am to kindly welcome Ms. Neha Markanda.
Thank you, ma'am. Our third guest is Mrs. Amitabh Shergill. He is currently working as Senior Director of Operations at Delphi, with over 2.5 decades of rich and diverse experience spanning the profit sector and the defense industry. Mr. Amitabh Shergill stands as a seasoned professional with a proven track record in strategy, operations, delivery, supply chain, and security and risk management. Having served with the Indian Army for 25 years, Mr. Shergill brings a unique blend of passion, integrity, and fearlessness to his professional endeavors. These personal qualities have significantly influenced his leadership style, shaping him into a leader who wears his heart on his sleeve. His leadership style is characterized by being a people centric leader, a structured problem solver, and a market facing professional with a robust process oriented perspective. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Mr. Shergill is a dedicated sportsman, embodying the belief that life's most valuable lessons are learned on the sports field. His commitment to excellence, both in the boardroom and on the field, reflects his holistic approach to leadership and life. Today, we are privileged to have Mr. Shergill share his wealth of experience and insights with us. I request Neeti ma'am to kindly welcome Mr. Shergill.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, something that a lot of us know, might not know, is that the Alumni Relations Committee also publishes a quarterly newsletter. It's called Alumni, consisting of various sections like Leading Edge, Alumni Spotlight, Entrepreneur Speaks, and so on. Each section is a unique peek into the worlds of some of our most distinguished alumni. The newsletter this quarter is the Netritva Special Edition newsletter. It contains interviews and write-ups from such alumni like Ms. Garima Jain, who's the Deputy CEO and Head of Grains at Louis Dreyfus Company. She was also featured live on CNBC Singapore's show Street Science. And alumni like Mr. Vipin Kumar Kataria, who's the Chief Commercial Officer at Britannia Industries.
We would now request the guests to unveil the native edition of Alumni.
Well, thank you to all our guests. Now, over the years, IFT has produced several notable alumni who have gone on to become stalwarts in their fields. The Division of Alumni Affairs seeks to recognize such achievers each year through the Alumni of the Year awards, which are affectionately called AOTY on campus. AOTY is awarded in two categories, corporate and entrepreneurship. And the latest winner is no other than Mr. Sanjay Gopinath, who's here with us today. He won the award in the corporate category. Once again this year, the DAA is proud to declare the nomination forms for AOTY are now open.
And now, a token of appreciation for our beloved Dr. Neeti ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, and we are grateful to have. So tell me, Vaibhav, I heard you've been really putting in the hours to hone your leadership skills.
Come on, yeah, Jami, can you please skip to the good part?
No, I'm sure all of us would love to know, and we would also maybe try to do it.
Okay, so here it is. I sat in the 9 a.m. class for 1.5 hours, full TCP, and when it came time for attendance, I realized that my name is not even there.
What was the subject?
Leadership lab. Well, anyways, here's what I've learned. The most precious resource we have is not oil or any mineral or any gold. It is leaders, strong, passionate, and human.
Well, you've learned quite a lot in 1.5 hours, but that's true and insightful. Today's event, Netritva, seeks to delve into authentic human aspects of leadership in a world dominated by technology and rapid change. It aims to strip away the masks leaders must often wear and explore the genuine qualities that define effective leadership.
So come, let's delve beyond the conventional perception of leaders as authoritative figures and uncover the human qualities which make leadership reliable and empathetic.
To host today's event, we would like to invite Mr. Nitin Mohan Kapoor on the stage. A dynamic professional with a diverse career journey, he completed his BTech in Electronics and Communication from Manipal Institute of Technology and MBA in International Business from IIFT. Nitin sir has collaborated with C-suite executives in the US, contributing to management consulting and corporate sales. Currently, he is senior consultant at Michael Page, playing a pivotal role in India's recruitment industry. Sir's passion for corporate sales is evident in his extensive experience working with C-suite executives across diverse sectors, including Indian startups, promoter-driven organizations, and global MNCs. His professional journey reflects a commitment to excellence and a profound impact on the realms of management consulting and recruitment.
And what you'll be happy to know is that he is not just an alumnus of IIFT, but also of the Alumni Relations Committee. He's been a great mentor to all of us, and we absolutely enjoyed collaborating with you, sir, on this event. We welcome you, sir. And now over to you, Nitin sir, to take this event forward.
Thanks for making time Sunday morning. I think evening time. I think we all value that time a lot. So the theme that the students have come up with, which is an insightful one, is that we want to understand the personality behind the leadership styles that you have. There's a structure to it that we'll have the conversation, but essentially it's an open conversation. Would want to share your thoughts about it. Before we get started, I think a quick round the table on your leadership styles would be just helpful, just to give us an idea about how you see yourself as a leader. So, Neha, we can just start with you.
Okay, awesome. Hi everyone. It's just lovely to see all of you on a Sunday morning. We are still going through a midlife crisis. All of this is a welcome change. But to have you all come in on Sunday is fantastic. On leadership style, I've discovered it honestly over a period of time. But I think one of the things that always struck me, the first time I became a manager or a leader of sorts, was what kind of boss would I have liked? What kind of a leader would I have? And I think over a period of time, that's really a reminder I keep giving to myself. I'd like to believe that I'm more of a strength-based leader. So I spend a lot of time trying to understand my team, their individual strengths, and then try to work off, what strengths they bring to the table. I must also admit, and perhaps more on that later, I really struggled the first time I became an official leader. And I think that 1.5 year stint of a very, very demanding set of team members has been invaluable for me in my leadership journey. Um, I also want to believe that for me, one of the most important values in life is equity. And as a leader, I think the biggest thing that I aim to ensure is equity within the team members. To make sure that each one of them feels that they have an equal chance to be set up for success in whatever we are doing. Um, because as you realize, a lot of times doing well is about being at the right place at the right time. And as much as I can help it, I do try and feel, or I do try and ensure that my team members feel that they all have an equal chance at succeeding. So that's just a value system that I sort of try and bring to the table. The third one is, honestly, I don't think I have a leadership style which has remained the same. I try and sort of customize my approach to the kind of team I have, to the kind of times that one is leading a team in, to the kind of organization that you belong to. So the biggest leadership style that I would encourage everyone to have is to just be extremely flexible and to be almost, to showcase a sense of adapting to change. Um, and I heard the CEO of Suresh Narayanan once spoke, and I think those words have stuck to me. Uh, Being a leader is sometimes just being head of a family. So every time there is either a crisis, you have to forget that you're leading a team. You have to think, you have to protect the family. And I think I try and do my bit to deliver.
Great to know. I think that's really insightful. Specifically, what you spoke about the strength-based leadership. I think that's rare. You'll rarely find people who work on your strengths and don't point out the weaknesses at the first glance. I think with experience, that's what the right leaders do. I'm keen to know about your journey because you worked in the armed forces before corporate. So I'm sure your leadership style has seen a lot of changes during that.
Yeah, so at the outset, thanks everyone for inviting me here. It's a real pleasure to be here. I was here not too long back. As far as I'll just add to what Neha had said, and yes, I do have a little bit of a different perspective because I come from the armed forces background. I'll just add to the points which he also said, which are very much there. I feel all of you, the minute you step out, you're anyways going to be a leader. Your designation is going to be of a leader. You may have three small teams that you're looking after. And gradually, as you grow up in your career, that team is going to become larger. You're going to be handling a larger number of people. So you're a leader from day one. It was the same for me. When I joined the army, I was already put in charge of a certain number of people, troops who I was responsible for. So one of the most important aspects, which I feel, is professional competence. If you are good at your job, only then are you going to be able to lead. The people under you are looking at you. They're looking at you not only for guidance, they're looking at how good you are, and only then is he going to follow you, right? In certain cases, he may just decide that okay, because of your designation, he's listening to you. But if you really want to be a leader who leads from the front, then your professional competence is most important. The other aspect which I feel is very important is being proactive. Right? You've got to lead by example. You've got to take that first step. And when people see you as a leader taking that first step, it makes it a lot more comfortable for them. Between the corporate as well as in the army, I don't see too much of difference, to be very honest, when it comes to leadership qualities. They're both the same, right? And you're a leader of people. Empathy and compassion, I feel, are most important to be a part of the team, to understand. You're going to have different people under you from different backgrounds, different competencies. How you carry them forward is what defines you as a leader and makes you successful. I think some of these qualities are something which are most important for a leader.
Yeah, great to know. Great to know. How about you, Sanjay?
First of all, thank you for inviting. Unfortunately, I could not make to the IIFT award presentation. I've seen there speaking to that mic for half an hour or such. Thanks for giving me. So again, I think Neha and Scott spoke a lot about that. The problem is getting the question, same question to the last question. So you'll have to read many. So I'll try my best. They have all told everything is right, but there are, of course, there are shades of responsibility. So I consider leadership like two aspects. I think ma'am talked about that. Everybody and talked about that. Everybody is on our capacity to be a leader. You don't need to have the reporting people and all those kind of loopholes that having focus people around you. And I'm sure that now you are doing that as a leader. So don't think that I will become a manager to become a leader. That I have five people. That's my first small piece of observation from my. The second one, how I see leadership is something like an equate to how my son grew up. And many of you probably are not there in the journey yet, but the new son is like around 10-year-old, then they start. And then you are still a bit skeptical, okay, will he or she fall down, but you still want them to grow their skills. So and I can really kind of recall my chances with my son, like on that back. I take him to my park and I want him to explore, but I just don't want him to go out of my vicinity because I want to help him if he's on the phone, and he will invariably fall because you are learning. So you be there, a leader or a manager or something like that, you be there to make sure that your team members can go and explore. And you can see kids will start exploring, kids will go some and then look back, yeah, my parents there. Then they will go next because they know that their parents are there to cover their back. They fall down, the parents will come. So a leader is something like that. The leader helps his team, kids or her team to grow, without probably micromanaging the stuff. There is how it has to be exactly that. Giving them the opportunity to grow with their own skills that they may not try to put strengths rather than probably weaknesses and then try to get that weakness out. There are various thoughts around it, but I'm also a big believer that we should nurture strengths rather than try to get the heck out of the weakness and and there are other aspects I'm sure that can be talked about. We can explain more further. I would say probably I would do that.
Got it. That's great to know. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a flavor as well of what the leaders on the panel today are like. How we're gonna structure it is we're gonna have 3 segments. We're gonna start with the first one, that's the cult of personality. What we essentially mean by that is, of course, I think a lot of not managers, but leaders, because you'll work with a lot of managers, but very few actual leaders. The difference you might study in your textbooks, but you will actually see it in the real world, like our panelists would have definitely, seen or grown into. The difference comes out of the personality style, right? So there would be very few mentors or leaders that you would carry in your life. You would have an indelible sort of an impact that you have. I do have a story of myself as well. When I started my corporate journey, I think just the very first few months, there are going to be scoops for sure, right? I think everyone starts up that way. But I was lucky enough to have a manager, per se, who did not sort of make me realize that, there is a scarcity of skills, but actually helped me hone them. So he was always there like a mentor. I think those kind of mentors are what you carry in your life. And that's the kind of understanding we would want from your careers. So in this section, we would want to understand the kind of mentors who've left an impact in your life and in your journeys. So yeah, Neha, I think we can start with you. Any mentor or leader that pushed you out your comfort zone, and that's something you've carried till today.
Yeah, I mean, a couple. In fact, at different stages, like I said, I passed out in 2003 and joined ITC. And I think from there on, very different organization, very different kind of leaders over there at the time. And I think from my first manager there, who really challenged me because I was the second girl in sales at the time, and selling cigarettes on the streets of Coimbatore, not speaking that language. So a lot of those things were completely out of my comfort zone. But I think to have that conviction and confidence coming in from the early managers and leaders really helped me sort of take to that job. So even today, I think every time I am in any kind of a self-doubt, I try and remember where I started my journey and how I was pushed into that. I wasn't given a choice. And that goes a long way in me doing whatever I do today. So at different stages, I think thereafter, when I was making a functional switch from sales to marketing, again had the conversation with my hiring manager at the time, who basically encouraged me to think about first principles and not really knowledge. And the minute I had a first principles conversation with her, I think I really realized, and that actually has gone a long way in my hiring principle, where I look at skills and I look at attitude and I look at problem solving ability and I look at all of those things. So just having a very first principle led conversation, she turned out to be a great mentor and guide. To a manager later on in life who actually first rejected me for a role, and was so candid in telling me that this is not right for you, and you will not be able to add any value. Literally told me that. And I remember I felt miserable because at that time I had been in the professional life for almost 16, 17 years. To hear that at that stage in life is not very pretty. But that person engaged with me, and we would meet for a coffee conversation every now and then. And I got hired back into that organization 3 to 4 months after my first rejection, to a different role. And I cannot tell you how deeply grateful I was to that gentleman, because the role that I got into was far more aligned to my skill set, and I found myself doing a far better job. And I have the highest regard, for that transparency and for that tough feedback, which really made me reflect and go back and improve myself and also show up as a more appropriate candidate for a later role. So sometimes, mentors are not always those people who are nice to you. I believe in the power of tough love. And I think most of my mentors, I call them my board of directors, are people who have at a given time been very encouraging. Like I said, the second boss who had a first principles conversation, but equally the tough people. My boss in ITC, for example, and of course, I mean, this is a top chat and not a. When I first entered the room, picked up the phone and called HR and said, "Why have you sent a woman to work under me. And I was all of 24 at the time. So my first job, but those are the people who are my board of directors. Because they're tough, they get the best out of you. So never reject a mentor only because they're unreasonable. They are really going to play a crucial, pivotal role in your life. So respect them for the challenge that they are throwing at you. There is some reason. They can't always be wrong. It is a very natural reaction for a person to get all defensive. Or XYZ is being unreasonable to you. But listen, and there'll be at least 10% truth in the criticism that they're giving you. So very long answer. But yes, lots of mentors accumulated at different stages in life, and they've come to me in different shapes.
No, got it. And the kind of journey you've had, of course, we'll deep dive into it. But starting with ITC at that young age, and of course, being a woman leader in potential, I think that's going to be something that we'll unravel as we
Lots
go.
of fun trivial stories. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Amitabh, for you, of course, you would have seen a lot of leaders and imbibed a lot of values, both in the armed forces and now with the corporate stint as well. But what are the core personality traits that define a leader for you? So maybe beyond these both two worlds, anyone in the outside world you consider as the go-to leader, and what defines you?
Okay, so I'll just talk about a little bit about my journey when I joined the army, and one of my first mentors that I really came across was I was a second lieutenant when I joined the army. Nowadays, you join as a lieutenant, and I happened to coincidentally, my father was also in the army. That was not the reason why I joined the army, but yeah, I guess destiny has its part to play. Coincidentally, I also happened to join my father's office, right? And to start with, I was very apprehensive about going to my father's regiment because I said, I want this to be compared to. He did fabulously well, so I said, okay, that kind of perception was always there in my mind that okay, if I go there, I'll always be compared to him. If I do well, they'll say, oh, it's a normal. If I don't do well, they'll say, look how the dad was and how the son was. So I never wanted to go there, but yeah. But once I reached there, there was no such, issue, or nobody looked at me with those colored lenses. Particularly, there was this officer who was about 10 years of service. He was one of the first people that I came across. What Neha was talking about, tough love. Believe me, it was really tough love. And he really put me through the grind. Like I said, one of the most important qualities of a leader is to first start to learn to get your hands dirty. You need to get down to the ground. You need to start from scratch. Like what she was saying, she went out and sold cigarettes and went into a town which she had no idea about. Me, when I went out, I was going out of my comfort zone for the first time. I actually stepped out of Delhi. Born up in Delhi, studied here. Going into the army was the first time I actually went out. And here I went into a unit where I thought I'm going to be judged by everybody. But my grounding and the fact that he pushed me so hard, I was like, yeah, where have I landed up? That was one of the first things, and it was continuous. But qualities of empathy and compassion, like he was also one of those people. If I ever had a problem, I knew that he's the guy. And I felt that quality is very rare in a person wherein he's able to project that particular aspect about his personality, wherein he's professionally very tough on you so that you learn. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be leading troops into battle. I'm going to be leading them into war, and they should follow me. And if I'm not good at what I do, and he forced me to prove it in front of those people on various aspects. I'm not going to get into that. So also, I've seen not too much difference in the corporate world as well. Yeah, having been in delivery for 4 years, I've seen various leaders from different verticals, right up downwards from the CEO downwards. There's not too much change. Right? There are people out here, again, I interacted with another individual who's a very senior role out there. I think he had exactly the same qualities and what I'm with relation to the same officer I met in Young. Empathy, passion, professional competence. I would put him in the genius category because he was such a fast thinker. He knew what he was talking about. You couldn't, fake it. So I knew that if he is calling me, then I surely will know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'm going to get embarrassed in front of people. If I was to look at somebody outside this spectrum, as what you had asked, I've been a sportsman at heart. Let's be into some sport together. I think one of the best leaders I have seen outside, and I've had fortune to interact with him, is MS. Why I take his name is because he is somebody people are going to associate with, vis-a-vis me talking about somebody nobody knows about. Right? You've seen his qualities today. You see even a Sunil Gavaskar, who's a legend, running after MS Dhoni to get his autograph. That speaks a lot about the man, right? You've seen what all he's achieved. What are his major qualities? Being calm under pressure, not getting irritated, but at the same time being tough, right? Bringing out the best from what he is, the resources provided to him, and also taking tough calls. When I say taking tough calls, means you all are aware that when he came into the picture, there were a lot of legends who were already there in the team, seniors who thought that we are going to remain there. But he took that call to get them out. It was, it led to a lot of furor and everything, but it produced the results. He took the tough call because it was needed at that point of time. So I feel those are some 4 or 5 qualities which are really important for a leader, and I really look up to what he did, to what he has achieved. So a lot of lessons from that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And again, given your journey, I think the stakes have been so high at a lot of places that you've been to. That's something for us to learn. And of course, coming Sanjay to you, combination of tough love, soft hands, empathy, all of that is something that you would have seen with a lot of leaders. But sometimes there could be leaders who may not have acted the way that you wanted, and that is also a lesson in sometimes that how would you want to own yourself as a leader. So any mentor leaders that you would have recalled in your journey that shaped the way you handled your leadership journey?
Yeah, probably I can start with the bad boss or the bad leader.
Oh yeah,
We
absolutely.
all have our own. I mean, as you guys but probably that's a learning issue. So I had this manager, very we didn't have this bad bosses very early because I think after that we become a bit more smart to choose the right people. They said you cannot choose bosses, but I think we can do that with some bit of I would say, clever act. So this manager, and I think I would also have to blame it on some of the practices at that point of time. Things have changed, like years have changed now. So this manager will come and then like the time is to 5 hours of the work, and then he never expects anybody to go out of the office. Still keep like if he's going at 7, then he expects to keep on going everybody. And he will make some very sarcastic comments, and that's the privilege of the manager, right? That he can make sarcastic get away. So then there, I still remember the guy's name, Nathan. Like 7 o'clock, Nathan is leaving. Not the same manager. So these are something, I think things have changed. The industries we work for have changed, and now we believe in getting the work done. So I think probably you will not see this kind of manager. But let me be very frank with you. These all will bear some things when time comes for your appraisal and all this. Like visibility, whatever we say and whatever we say about it is important. Visibility means like you see, you have to see. So they have to see you in action. That still, whatever virtual world we are living in, that still sometimes. So as I think Neha touched on that point, as a manager, how do you bring that equity onto the team? That somebody is remote. So for example, when I was in my early job before work, I had teams in Noida. When I was doing the bank, I was in bank, but I was traveling. It was my constant endeavor learning from this kind of experience that how do I make sure that they are part of the team and as well as they feel okay, that my manager takes care of me and considers me equal or treated equally with my colleagues. So that was one good experiment, and something I learned on the way with some great leaders. One was this lady who set up a large India. So she came from India. And IBM does things in large scale, and 1,100 people in marketing field can never think of a marketing organization. She did from scratch. And you know the challenge of setting it up and all those people organized. But she was so approachable. Like as a leader, any person, like we never down with her, chance and an email, so like you will get a reply. And faster than probably what other people reply. And also you can knock at the door and get in and that's something which I really learned. The approachability and wherever you are is very, very important. Like, if you want to see you, you should be approachable for your people to talk to and then probably get some guidance. And the other one more leader I worked with are probably came from my recent manager. So he taught me how to be authentic. So there are cases, and in this case, slightly different case because I was a manager and he was my manager. So then, very authentic in terms of what are some struggles he is facing in the organization. Large organizations will have challenges. You will, even if you are the manager or leader, you still have your hands tied. And I think managers and leaders are more hands tied than other people. So he's very frank in explaining that way. Comes out as very authentic in terms of telling what are the current situations and how we going to face it and probably not trying to, I would say, paint it and look it and make it look very good. So these are some qualities I still try to imbibe and try to implement it. So you will have your fair share of bad managers and you see also other managers and then the better way is not to make the mistake yourself and learn from that. And then
No, absolutely. And in fact, I think what you spoke about is early in the journey when you have those sort of bad bosses because then you develop a skill in corporate managing your manager. I think that's something that comes in. Just to wrap up this segment, this will be a question. I'll open it to the panel. I think a lot of times we are asked maybe in interviews or in our interactions, how do you deal with failure? I think that's a question that always comes to us. But I think it's very rare that you go back and reflect, how does your leader handle failure? And that's equally important because when I look at my short corporate journey as well, it's never the best quarter that I remember my leaders, conduct or my interaction with them. It's the worst one because that's when if I'm being supportive or all the things are in place, that's what I carry with myself. So just open it all to you. How do you guys, handle failure? Because it's a lot to take in. You don't want to blame the team at the same time. You want to have people accountable. So what's your thought process like when failure comes in?
Let's go there.
So yeah, so failures come all around. It may be like small blips. Driving my approach to failure is that if that is something, I mean, if you as a manager, you've been kind of asked for some of the failures which your team has done, and again, I touched on this point of being authentic. I think it's probably authentic to probably tell that okay, this is where we have failed. And you have to take the ownership. There is no doubt. You cannot say that, okay, Amitabh is reporting to me, and then I cannot tell my boss, hey, that Amitabh is the one who actually did that. Is not. So that you cannot do that. So you have to, as a manager or a leader, you stretch your spine up and say that, okay, yes, I stood up. I take the responsibility. But you make sure that the person, if it is one team member who has not done that, and make that person understand that okay, why that failure happened because of that person. And I mean, in a nice manner, and then understand what were the gaps. What were the gaps? What is the skill gap that the person is not able, or what is some time plan, or what is sheer carelessness? So you have to kind of probably get that. Now, personally, how do I handle my failures is probably have some time to myself, and that's my own way of thinking. Time on myself, and I try to kind of analyze on what went wrong. And I think when you ask that, five whys is a huge of those principles. Right? So for me, that is five whys is the ones you ask. Okay, now the flower pot went down. Okay, why did the flower pot go down? The flower pot went down because it was kept nearer to the edge. Now, why was it kept near that. So that, like that, the principle says that you ask why, and then finally we get to the root cause of what made it go wrong. So, and in many cases, it is not the first thing which you see. First thing which you may see is that it's Amitabh who kind of put his hand down and that report went out. But that may not be the reason. That's why I said that. So I try as much as possible to get to the root of the failure and try to say what is that made you fail at that point in time, rather than not blaming other things. So what is that made you fail, and then try to address that. That how can I avoid those situations? But finally, we are all humans. We also got our own biases and emotions that play. It's not a bad thing to fail and then you try in the way for you to kind of get out of that failure. So sometimes to get rid of the emotion, I'm not saying failure, but get rid of the emotion that you have. Or is it some people do that, and some of the offices have got some rules where you can go in and then shout and then but you get out, you're frustrated. There are apparently some rules. I think in Bangalore for sure, some one of my team members was saying where you can, I mean, there are things kept that you have like a baseball bat and you can break down. So there are, I mean, these are all usually helping that small time gap of getting your frustration out. But after that, you need to chill out because that frustration, every day you cannot go to sleep. Yeah, so that's where I.
Yeah, so I'll just add to what Sanjay said in a nutshell. The buck stops at you as leader, and there are going to be failures. It's never going to happen that you are not going to come across failures. You are going to get failures of varying degrees. It could be small, it could be large, it could be pretty insignificant as well. But there are going to be failures. It's you need to be a little mature, exhibit a little bit of maturity on how you deal with it, because look, as a leader, your team is looking up to you, right? Like what he said, you can't say because of him it happened, right? You take the onus for it, definitely. You stand up for it, and the way I look at it, I would probably say, how is it that I could have done better in that particular failure, or if I don't go by the strong word of failure, I would say, let's say it didn't go the way it should have gone. Maybe I look at 2, 3 other options. I get the team together, take some suggestions from them on what they could have done better. Yes, make an understanding of why that failure happened. Like he said, that it could be just a casual attitude, or it could be an inadvertent mistake, or it could be just inexperience. Right, so that's what you've got to understand, and that is why you need to know your team well as to what are the core strengths, because everybody is not going to be the same. There are some guys, who are going to be inherently not as strong as a particular person. So you got to build on those core strengths to ensure or delegate accordingly, so that the chances of failure reduce. You know that, okay, look, if a particular person is weak, or is not a core strength of his, then if you're delegating that particular job to him, then that means then you're doing something wrong. So that's where understanding the team, whether it is 2 people or whether it is 20 or whether it is 50 people, you got to know each person. You need to engage with each person to know how they are. That's the way I go about it. I understand my team first before I start delegating. I understand their strengths and weaknesses, which reduces the chances. That doesn't mean failure is not going to happen. Bottom line, like I said, the buck stops at you. You own up to it, and you come out stronger. You learn from each mistake. Let's be very honest about it. That's the most important thing. There are going to be failures, and how you learn from it and make yourself better, I think that's one of the most important ideas.
Yeah, I think, to be very honest, I think I was initially not very good at handling failures, because it was that type A, alpha, hyperachievement. You really not failed in life. You had a very protected upbringing, and so the first time things don't really go down your way, I think you tend to have a fairly extreme reaction. And I've been guilty of that for sure. Like I think, one of those people who thought you don't win silver, you lose gold. So I think it was also, I would label almost every little thing that did not go my way as a failure, even if it wasn't. And I think one thing that I would tell at least those people who tend to be very harsh on themselves is to say that please pull back a little bit and be very careful about what you define failure. It could just be a setback, and a setback is not a failure. And I think, at least for many years, I think I thought every little setback was a failure, and it wasn't. I think with time and their effort to maturity, I think that comes along. But I would, I think one of the things I do is to talk to my friends and family a lot, because they're, when you're too close to a situation, you tend to get very invested in it. It helps to talk to some people who might be detached from that environment and that situation, because they are able to give you advice with a fair bit of objectivity. So create that, that sounding board. And lastly, I think completely resonate. I think there is always an opportunity. There is always a learning from failure. And I say this with a lot of conviction that people who have not seen failure and people who have not seen setback are actually the most undifferentiated employees. And I'll explain what I mean by that. All of you'll be like, whatever, 200 people are in a batch in an MBA college. When you join the workforce, you're again part of many, many people. The kind of subjects you're studying, the kind of scores you're getting, the kind of launches, your resumes, if you change the name, the experiences will be pretty replicable, right? But your failures and your setbacks won't be. And I have, every time I have interviewed for jobs, uh, truly made a story out of my own failures and my learnings and my ability to handle it. And that is, I think, a differentiator. So it is not all, like, failure is not a terrible thing. It not only makes you learn, it not only makes you build confidence. Each time you fail and you come back, you become a more confident person. But apart from that, even from an employment perspective, because a lot of you are at the cusp of that stage in life, it's a great topic.
No, I think absolutely, because failure is the only time when you're absolutely isolated. And as you touched upon, I think there has to be a support mechanism, be it your personal life or your rituals around it, because very few days you would actually succeed in life, but failure is just like rampant. So thanks for your insights there. I think we have something called spin the wheel that these guys have planned. I think it's going to be a fun question. They're going to digitally spin the wheel for each of you, and then would give you a chance to respond to that. Yeah, we tried a physical wheel, but yeah, not possible. I guess with these guys exams and all, so we are going with the digital version for today. Oh yeah, I think we'll come to that later in the conversation as well. How the world is seen. Oh, absolutely. So this is where we'll go one by one. I think we'll start with Sanjay. This is for Sanjay.
Yeah, also have you read the question? Yeah. The question is, what's the weirdest office tradition you have ever encountered?
I don't know whether it's weird, but that's interesting. And apparently in my current organization, there is something called Friday. So this started off with US because of course cooking. I'm sure the UK they would have followed it. So on Friday there is in all across all the macro digital companies around Europe, there are which is also in the cafeteria and you can run it like share a couple of cafeteria. You don't actually forget what you can share. So then I was curious to find out how did we start? Start like Friday. That's not right. So I asked them that apparently there was somebody, some employee in Macros and it was her mother used to bake. And then slowly, like I bring and then I'll share some stuff with share with Neha and then slowly what's and the company, which is like all credit to who were thought about the company, knows that, yes, I think let's make it official. And they started also paying that particular person was. So, and then it continued across. And when it came to India, it became samosas and so I thought, yeah, but I thought it was like interesting. thing to that.
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting one for sure. Can you put it again? I think this is correct.
Okay, so for the audience, if there's anyone who wants to similarly download as been doing with your class, I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Anyone? One more have to do it myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. Alright, I guess it's me again. So, what's the most ridiculous rumor you've heard about the company?
I know ridiculous rumor. Okay, so delivery, I think some would be aware that went public about 2 years back. So the rumor at that time, or just when we had gone public, was that within 6 months, most of the senior leadership is going to move on because they're going to cash in on their ESOPs and stocks and shares that come. So I don't know where that rumor came from, but yeah, it was like most of the leadership is going to go out and things are going to change in delivery because all the stocks are going to be invested by the parents. Yeah.
Yes, so my offer still stands. Does anyone?
I think they
And yeah, I think the lady in the white, sorry, she's in. Yeah. So maybe we can also have an introduction, ma'am.
Yeah, in the new world, it's not the theatrics of spinning the wheel, it's just a click. So maybe that's why there is a sympathy.
My name is Payal. I degree on engineering and commercial communication. I was an experience of 7.5 years. I'm part of sales team taking care of your account. I work with organizations like Housing Services, Electric. I'm working with using technology, things like innovation. They are doing industrial printing market. So mostly I'm taking care of automotive industry where the requirement is quite high. And it's techno commercial requirements. So we work on the technical part first and then move to the commercial. I should.
Yeah.
If you could choose one therapy, would it be? I have to get this
In your team,
in my
and what role would you define for the team? And I think this mentioned productivity is optional.
Yeah, then I-
Care about the output.
I think a good thing. Definite dose of fun and energy, I think would go a long way. And I think I'm also thinking about it because of complementary skill set, because
Yeah.
I'm not that. So I need something that would be a great addition to the team.
Good balance to have in the
Do
team.
you guys agree? Would he be a good
I
fit?
would have gone with the same choice. Because of the fun aspect, when it's work, and when it's fun, it's like ballistic, yeah.
And I think he can be a trainer or something like that, with good fitness goals.
Yeah, someone with a positive mindset and getting to work done. I think that's the dream for all of us for sure. Before we move on to the next segment, if you guys have any question, thank you so much. If you have a question, you can raise it to the panel as well. We'll just open it for a couple of questions to the audience. First, why not? You made the effort. Thanks for that. Please.
So, there could have been a situation when the and but that person might also have different skill set, which is in a way, if matured, if given an opportunity, could do wonders in other part of that. So, as a leader, what would be your take? Like, would you promote that person as ask that person to be an explore part of the
say that I will just explore and ask them, but it is a tough choice to make. Actually, it's a very real life scenario and has happened multiple times. And I can tell you that leaders who will, ruminate over this many times over are people who, like Nidab said, are probably people who are not professionally capable themselves, and therefore they struggle to let go of this person. So sure, you miss the person because they are bringing value, but if you feel confident that you have what it takes to continue, taking the charter for your team forward as a leader, and you believe in the other remaining team members, it will not be a tough choice. And generally, I think you have to always be right by people. You will be amazed to realize how small the corporate world is. And if you end up being in a particular location, like I've spent my entire career here in Delhi, the number of times paths will cross. You will meet that great talent again, and you will be actually their mentor for life. So you have to sort of let go if you believe that that's the right thing. And if it's a difficult decision, then please reflect. It means you probably need to learn a thing or two about your job.
Yeah, actually, I'll just add to that. No one's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, right? So if you have that as a mindset, you will easily let that person go and grow. And also, you need to put yourself in that person's shoes also as to what his expectations are. Like, if you were there, wouldn't you want to move out, right? So that's how it works. I mean, absolutely, there's no two ways about holding the person back. There will always be another person coming. You never know, the person may be even better, right? And whether you need to teach the new person who comes in or whatever, but no one will replace it.
Any question from the audience? We'll just take one question before we move ahead to the next segment. Yeah, you have to. Can you be a little louder?
You got us wrong, actually. Yeah. That's okay.
I think however you guys want to go, it was a loaded one, I think, for all of you.
Yeah, different. So, okay, I mean, everybody has their own, in terms of knowledge, has their own sphere of influence, right? Whether it is a captain or it's a colonel. Like I said, you're a leader, whether you're a leader of 2 people or whether you're a leader of 20 or whether you're a leader of 600 people, right? What is expected of you is, say, for that particular designation that at which you are, you should be fully aware of what it entails, what the job profile is. I don't need to get into the CEO shoes, right, to understand what, or rather expand my knowledge because, at that, it's a very different level. It's the same whether it's in the army, whether I'm a captain or I'm a colonel. Like as a colonel, I'm commanding an outfit which has 600 people. I have 45 tanks. I have a huge amount of, infrastructure that I'm single-handedly responsible for. A captain doesn't need to be concerned with that, right? He's got a charter. He's got a, responsibility, what his role is. You think maybe one up, definitely. You have to think one up because that's how you grow. But to be saying that, okay, I need to start thinking like a CEO, I need to start thinking similarly at a corporate level. If I'm a senior director of operations, I should be aware of, how a VP or a senior VP is thinking. I'm really not concerned with, what all a CEO is dealing with. He's dealing with stuff at a macro level. I will reach there at some point of time. That's the aim, no doubt. But please concentrate in your sphere of influence plus one. That's the way I look at it.
thanks for the question. Let me try and bring it alive with an example. Every year there is going to be an appraisal cycle, right? In a corporate firm. And there is this beautiful bell curve that will always get made where there'll be people who will be rating at top of it, then very high performers who sit in the middle chunk, and then there will be again pretty high performers. Like I'll say this with a lot of pride. When you work in a company like Google, every single person over there is really, really, talented. But you have to pick out people and give them a low rating, and it's a tough conversation to have, right? And these have been people who have performed very well throughout their careers and who may still have delivered a great body of work even in the year that you're rating them in, but still giving them a tough rating. Now, if I had to be just a manager or a leader having that conversation, it could be quite, quite often just a conversation around here is the rating, here is the, reason for it, etc., etc. And it would be a full conversation, and you would expect the person to sort of just absorb it, or tell them that you're a adult, just suck it up and show up to work the very next hour. I think when I say that look at it as a family member, I think you try and understand the individual nuances of what this rating could mean for this person in their life stage. You not only tell them that this is the rating, you go deeper into making them understand why it was there. So, for example, one of my conversations just 2 weeks back was post the calibration. I had, and there were close to 50 people we calibrated. I had made notes of exactly what were some of the initiatives, what was the level of work that was getting recognized this year, so that it became very clear to the person on where the gap is. Now, that was additional effort that the person receiving the rating could see me do, and they appreciate that, here is a person who's making that effort and pulling together actual, like a set of points that say that, here is what other people are doing. And then it was followed up with a very open, honest chat on what needs to be done differently for this particular individual. And to say that, look, this is performance and not potential. Just because you have a bad year does not mean that I don't trust you. And then backing that person up to say, in the next 6 months, my toughest problem as a team is X. I want you to work on X. Now that is again something, because you've not lost faith. This is family, so then this is a person you don't give up on. So you tailor your message, you land it in a way which the person will understand and accept. And then you don't give up on the person. So you pull them into something where they get the confidence that it's a bad rating, but I'm not in a bad place. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, I heard your question, it's innovation and discipline, right? So I guess now it is very, very expected hygiene that all organizations are doing and take something. Otherwise, you will perish and you will not survive. And good these things go hand in hand. You talked about that. You are exploring, and I talked about that child who is ready to walk, right? So that child is ready to take some risk, and then you are the manager giving them that advantage to take risk. Now, when you work in larger organizations, larger organizations, then sometimes it becomes you have to play within that construct of those larger organizations. What is considered an informed risk rather than what is considered as like a you go and probably try to take a lot. So I think that is where a manager has to help the team understand what is considered a legit risk taking and rather than a very random crash act. And when that person is ready to take that risk, then as a manager, and we talked about quite a lot, as a manager, you backing up. Because when you take risk, there is high chance of failure. And unless you take risk, you will not, So you as a manager, you should back up. If there is some question from other people, you are the shield with that person. You feel like, I can fail. I have like a fairly good playground here to take risk and fail. I try to succeed, but if I fail, then my manager will back up. Otherwise, nobody will take risk. Because it's very easy for all of us to get this salary by just doing our job without too much of stressing. So when somebody is ready to do that, first you motivate them to do that, and when somebody is ready to do that, you as a manager should give them environment to do that. And you as a manager, and Amrita talked about that, you as a manager should also show that what are some of the areas you are taking this for, and then share it with people so that they know that hey, my manager is taking this. Okay, this is my opportunity to take this. I hope I can answer that question. And maybe one more point before I end. Innovation sometimes happen over a longer period of time in larger organizations. Sometimes I have felt that in my experience, that sometimes teams don't see the innovation because you are making delta changes. And innovation is many a time delta changes. Over a period of time, it becomes a large thing. And give one example, and this was like it's a book I read not very long back. And this is on UI and UX analysis. So they talk about invention of wheat, which is a large, I mean, you would have seen pictures and cartoons and illustrations where this like wooden wheels and it goes down. But and that was very striking, is what the book explained. So that it was not that one fine morning he found a round wheel. Somebody initially found a square wheel, which became a triangle wheel, and which became probably hexagon wheel, and finally came out the circular wheel. So it happened for a period of time. We can see, but one point when we see this wheel happening, and that's an impression. So as a leader, and this may have happened like two generations probably. So as a leader, can you show this to your team members? That innovation is not that okay, you made that from square to you made it a triangle. That's not innovation. Or if it's not working, but that's also innovation. But finally, you realize the benefit of innovation over a period.
Definitely insight. It's always a journey. We'll go to the next segment. I think the first one was more about the kind of mentors and leaders our panelists have worked with. This one's going to be more about you guys. We would want to, understand more about how you look at a work sort of an environment, and of course, how you balance it with your own life. In fact, just to start this segment, we would want to hear your thoughts, and I'll open it to all of you on the 70-hour work week debate that sort of just came up a couple of months back. I think the world is sort of divided because and I'm just taking a 5-day work week. That's like 14 hours a day. You add your commutes, you add your lunch breaks, and I'm speaking from an absolute employee perspective. You add your, it's like an 18-hour work that we are talking. So there's two school of thoughts. One school of thought is doing that math, and then there is a second school of thought, which is like you need to put in those hours if you need to, have a sustained career. In fact, we'll just get a quick show of hands. How many of you guys are in favor of putting in that 70-hour work week? How many yeses? If I can just see hands. I see one. Wow. Okay, very few, and the rest are vehement no. Is that it? Okay. Yeah, so a definition of work is what you're talking. Great. So it's mostly divided. I know a lot of no's here. Of course, no one wants to. Work is the human tendency. But what are your guys' thoughts about balancing that work life?
Okay. I think more than the concept of structuring it and saying 70-hour week. Personally, if I was to say, I think efficiency is most important, right? If you can get the job done in less, then please do that rather than sit there and say, look, I'm just ticking the box and doing 70 hours. Personally speaking, let's say delivery. I'm talking about delivery, logistics. It's 24/7, 365 days a year. Return and shutdown. There's not a single day off, right? So I can't say I'm working 24 hours a day, or I need to put in 70 hours. I need to be sitting in, and like the gentleman out there said that 70 hours would be partly at home and partly when you're out as well. But I feel that even if you're in another industry, you're sitting in office, and just because you have 20 files on your table doesn't mean you're. I mean, I look at it as probably inefficiency. Look, you need to be efficient. You need to be proactive in what you're doing. The work will get done much less. It's just I'll give you a very this example was in the army per se, and it's no different in the corporate world. I was a colonel at that time. I was functioning in a division headquarters, and we had office from say 9 to 2, And then you used to come back again at 4:30 in the afternoon, say 2 hours break, and I mean, it doesn't work in corporate like that, but yeah, come back at 4 o'clock and then you go at 7, right? So if I'm coming there as a leader, that means the guy who's the junior guy is coming that much earlier and going that much later and shutting office. So his time is getting reduced, right? I'm coming at a certain time. So the general officer at that point of time, he said, sorry, that's not the way it's going to work because you guys are coming at this time. I'm not bothered with the number of files which you have on the table. The office will function from 10 to 2 or whatever it is. It will open only at that time and will shut at 2 and the work needs to be done and finished in that time. So we worked around it. Anybody used to come for a chat and a coffee and all that, I said, okay, I need to clear this, right? It was more of, and we did it, we achieved everything. In those same 4 hours, what I was stretching to 6. So that's where efficiency is the most important. I'm not, 70 hours doesn't cut it for me, to be very honest. In some cases, maybe your work demands it, whether you're partly working from home or say I'm switched on, even at night, sometimes I come back from a party and while I'm looking at a mail, I will consider that when I'm looking at a mail, 90% of it may not be concerning, but 10% maybe, and I might just put a ping for somebody at night because the company is functioning, people are functioning. But I don't consider it as part of a 70-hour week, right? So I think most important is efficiency, and that same job, if you really put your mind to it and cut out the frills a little bit, you finish it in less. And I've seen it happen a lot, and whether it's here or in the army itself, it was done because, like I said, you as a leader are coming in at a certain hour. Your juniors are coming earlier and then leaving later, so it's impacting everything.
Yeah, I can probably sort of the two part of efficiency. So I'm not very sure. I also I'm sure that. So I still remember it was my first job. Things happened in the first job. So the first job I remember getting into the office on Friday morning. My bosses was traveling for the company to be made, and then we are getting out of the office. But we went outside to print something earlier. These facilities were not there. We had to get some printer, come back, and also all these things happened between. But our CEO was very good, so he gave the car with the driver. And all of realized the car kept stopped. We still remember Hyderabad flyover. We had to push the car also. Those all happened. But I think it was not complaining, but I think I love that one. But if the number of hands we now, and I also have people from the later generation, and all this again. And I think many of them don't like it, and which I really appreciate that they want to have their own school. As Amitabh mentioned, what the difference which I see, especially in something like Indian culture and some other countries, the US for that matter, what are about efficiency in practice. So we have typically, I'm not saying most people, but there are definitely exceptions. But generally, you see people coming in at like 10:45, then like time 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1:30, and this happens in all the technology companies also. They speak. Sometimes the right kind of tea is not available. In a tech part, the right kind of tea is not available on my machine. So you go down to that shop where you get the right kind of thing, and in between you have and then you look, and then you finally go back, and then of course the lunch will happen after that lunch. Somebody will go, and then you go. That was a different front. So there are a lot of inefficiencies happening at work, and this makes us elongate our work till 9 o'clock. So I would like to see if somebody is saying that I'm working 30 hours, then I would like to see that. I would like to ask him also that he really analyze the work, which is actually the work. That may be less. And if you really have an issue for a longer period of time, sometimes there will be some debt for a longer period of time. I think it's the right point in time to discuss with your manager to see that, hey, I'm going to stay 5 days a week or 7 days a week for so much of time. Without any insight, can we just speak? So it's a very legit discussion you can have. But otherwise, it's mostly to do productive. And then for me particularly, sometimes The other risk of risk which happens is you have notifications on your mobile phone. So you are evening having probably a couple of drinks or you're relaxing, and this notification happens like on mail, and if you see your boss's name there, then you just okay, what did I like, should I check, and then you kind of open that email, you see something, and then surely may not have wanted anything at that point in time, and then you go, but you get into the rabbit hole of it, and then you open up the email, there were like 500 emails, and you get into the rabbit hole. So sometimes it is your own personal way of style of working, always come from experience, it doesn't have experience. So as a manager also, I think there is something which I do, technology, I do is that I try to, again, now thanks to Microsoft, I try to schedule my emails so that it doesn't, because I know that psychologically how that affects my team members. If they see like mine Sunday, and then there'll be nothing else. Some subject line will be there. There is nothing else. And they get worried about okay, but then your mind plays the devil. I mean, your mind goes, what did I do? Something wrong. And so as technologically you can stop some of those things, but otherwise I think it's more personally you try to understand your productivity level. And then so I don't think we should be need to work Sunday hours for sure to get our work.
Similar, I think, and what even Amitabh mentioned, right? As long as you have team members who have a deep sense of ownership, that even if there is an email and they're responding to it, it doesn't feel like work. I mean, that to me is ideal. And I think I would look for that. When I'm working with people who are not looking at the watch and thinking, my God, it's been, 2 hours, 1 hour, 70 hours, whatever. I would find that, then I just feel like it's better to have an honest conversation with yourself and choose something else. Don't sort of be here. Right. And the same is true for, I think, as a student. I would attend classes that I felt, I would want to spend that time. And if you feel like your time is better utilized to do something else, please do that. But if you're there, then extract everything out of that time. I think that's what each one of us is saying, that whatever you commit to with respect to time, make it count. And if it's not worth your while, then do something else. Now the problem with, I think, a lot of, and I don't want to generalize here, but I think the problem with the newer generation is that it is so acceptable to be doing nothing. It is so acceptable. And personally, I do not resonate with that sense. I genuinely believe that, and I'm not saying need to work all the time, but please add value to your life, like play, go do something creative, go, commit your time to social causes, but do something. But the problem with this, like, if you look at your phones, right, a simple social experiment, you realize how much time you're spending on the phone. And if you just do then a double click on what you're spending your time on, and you don't have to impress anybody, but just ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? So 70 hours, no, but do I have the willingness to work 70 hours should it demand? Yes. Do I have the ownership that I don't look at time as a factor? That's the ideal.
Right. I think efficiency and ownership is the key, is what we've aligned on. In fact, there's a new terminology I was reading. You was mentioning, tea breaks and coffee breaks. There's something called as coffee badging now, wherein you just swipe your badge, you go for a coffee, you come back. So a lot of new things.
Time, it's so boxed into meetings and having structured conversations. I don't think it's entirely wrong to sometimes sit and have an open conversation over coffee with your colleagues and you just draw the connections. In fact, that's something I'm trying to change in myself, because I end up going on a mission every day, and my calendar will be X and there'll be meetings or whatever. I consciously try and take some time out to just sort of have some very open-ended conversations, because who knows where some of that innovation or a new idea could come out from. But so there is a benefit to some of these informal.
Yeah, it's a balance. It needs to be a balance. Yeah. So we tend to stretch what generally we brought out, I think, for all of us was that we did stretch that back.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
okay, that's the basic tendency, and then it's come again. So that balance, obviously, that communication has to be there. You cannot be like switched on for every second of the time that you're there. You need that time to you pull back a little, have a conversation, have a chat, and Neha is saying that a lot of things in conversation in informal conversation definitely a lot more control than visually a formalized setup. No doubt.
Absolutely. I think sometimes taking a step back and letting the problems in the back of your mind helps for sure, for sure. So yeah, I just had a question for each of you just to understand your journey better in this segment. Anika, we can start with you. Of course, in the kind of career you've had, starting with FMCG and then the tech companies, there would have been a lot to balance, not just the professional side of things, but of course, personally as well. My mother has worked for like 30 years, so I know, for women, there's an additional layer to balance in terms of family and work. So what's been your experience and, what's worked for you and things you could have done maybe better, you would guide people to?
Yeah, this is a topic I think I can like secure a day in itself for, but I'll try and summarize. So I personally, and I'm being super candid here, I don't think marriage changed anything significantly for me. In fact, it made things easier because I had a partner, so it was the two of us looking after the house or whatever responsibilities, etc. That didn't change anything. A kid definitely changes things. And as I have now realized, I am the over-indexing parent in our case. And therefore, what happens then is it just in terms of demands of time, etc. There is a day shift and then there is an evening shift. When it comes to managing the child. And I have it has been overwhelming at many a times to sort of balance that out. But just as the case with most things, when you have a lot on your to-do list, you kind of prioritize. So I think there are different stages, even when a child is growing up, and you prioritize. And I will also talk to you very openly about one of my biggest regrets, which was when I left PepsiCo. This was 2010 or 11, and I was having a great time learning. Some of my strongest mentors were there. And my daughter was 3 years old at the time. My husband is in consulting, so he would go out on Monday, come back on a Friday or a Saturday. And I think the emotional side in me was so strong at the time. This is cute, adorable 3-year-old. And I'm like, why am I leaving this and going and working to those PowerPoints, And literally on a weekend, I just decided and I quit. And my boss couldn't make head or tail out of why I've done what I've done, but I left. I just left. And I do regret that decision because for two reasons. One, I think I got overwhelmed. So I think I could have just taken a sabbatical and not resigned. There was that option available to me. Two, for whatever bravado, I refused to take help. And I think for a lot of men and women who will go over this life stage in life, please take help. There is absolutely nothing wrong in taking help of your family, of a daycare, or whatever works. So, and especially for women, I would say just stick it out. There could be some years in your life where you may not be able to sort of achieve the high standards that you sort of set for yourself. But just stick it out. Because if you do, I can promise you we are far more effective, and I say this with all humility. I think we are far more effective because we're so good at multitasking. We're so good at, being in so many facets. I think the career journey then becomes very, very, very rewarding. So just stick it out. I think I've also, in the last 5 years, really had to balance not just my personal life, but my medical life as well. And you were just joking about the fact that I am not somebody who is on social media, etc. But I'm also a cancer survivor, and that was a big wake up call for me to now sort of really reassess some of the life choices I make. And it doesn't mean that I'm working fewer hours. The number of hours I work today, there is no change from what it used to be. But what I think has added to my balance is the mental balance. What am I going to let things affect me? What are the things that I will truly, react to? And where is it that how we play test cricket like well left? Where are the things that you will just let go? So I think balance is not just about your family, it is your own health, your own mental sanity, and you feeling good about what you do with work. So yeah, you just make those choices as you sort of go along. But particularly to young girls, one other practical advice I can give you girls is your initial careers, your initial few years in your career, please work as hard as you can and get the maximum possible success that you can, because those years will go a long way in building your own confidence, because you will know you have what it takes, and it's only situational that sometimes you may have to take a back seat. So your initial 5 years of work, I would encourage you to really give it your all and build that confidence back. uh, and when you go through a life stage, whatever, kids is the most common one, but it could be many other things. uh, Take help, get past it, but come back. The key is to just stick it out. I mean, it's really as simple. I've seen a lot of my batchmates who decided to quit work at various stages, some for good reasons, some for just, I call them excuses. I mean, I'll be very direct on this. I think a lot of women use this as an excuse as well. And it's not really that bad. Uh, my daughter today is somebody who's extremely attached to me. I don't think me having been a career person has meant that she doesn't share things with me or I'm not involved. She's in class 10. She starts her board exams in 10 days from now. I'm the only tutor she has. We discuss everything. You can quiz me on any Gen Z lingo, I will know it. So I can tell you I've got it going. And the only reason I've got it going is because I've taken help for things where I wanted to. And I've prioritized where I needed to. I mean, that's what it is.
No,
Just stick it out.
yeah, yeah. And I think for the men in the room, all we can do is sort of, salute and support. I had
You
my.
can do something, guys. Like, you don't just help at home. Help with everything. Like, just don't, your parents, don't make one person single parent.
No, I think absolutely. In fact, my mother had her own cancer back a couple of years back, and I know being on the other side, how she kept herself going, something I can't even imagine. So
Yeah, and
salute to
work
that.
is fantastic. So I went through my cancer journey during COVID time. And after my chemo sessions also, I used to log in and work. And to all those the 70 hours, etc., that was the only sense of normalcy for me. So I love working. I will never deny that. And I think work was a brilliant distraction for me. And if you use it as a distraction, if you use it as something to enjoy, if you use it as a source of independence, both financially, if you use it as something that you come into your own, actually it's the best thing. And when I was in IIFT, I remember just getting my summer internship and getting that stipend. I remember making a call to my dad and like, I used to always work and study now, and what the heck I'm getting paid for it. It was a great feeling. So I think it's about how you frame the situation for yourself. Uh, I love working.
No, I think absolutely everyone on the stage, and I'm sure a lot of us in the room, just achieving those objectives gives a high that is unparalleled. So of course, work is a huge part of our lives. Sanjay, a bit more on your journey. I'm sure there would be a lot of ambiguity that you deal with. What's been your sort of lessons and success mantra that's kept you going, dealing with those situations?
So, first of all, everyone, so I have been, I can tell my wife is here and she can also prove that I've been an equal partner with me. And she's also good. She took a break. She's not answered, not afternoon. And I've been an equal partner. I think one of my wife's complaints is that my son is more attached to me. So yes, I'm sure that many they're like that, and I would encourage more people like our state that be an equal partner, and we are not asking, or they are not asking us to take more work, but we can actually be an equal partner. And I know about some of my colleagues who have taken a sabbatical, like many colleagues, many friends who take a sabbatical to support their wives in their own career aspirations. So there are good things happening. Definitely things are changing for the good. So then coming back to this, so my own personal way of way of getting out of this work and balancing myself is running exercise. You are a person. So I mean I've been generally nearer to sports. I watch a lot of sports. Yesterday night also I was watching on my mobile Liverpool. I don't know if you follow Liverpool. So I was a lot of sports and then I was playing badminton at a couple of times in the weekend and suddenly COVID happened. All these courts were shut down. So I could not go anywhere to touch the feather or the shut down. So then, for my luck, there was a lake behind my house, and I came back to it, and then it went a 2.25 kilometer route there, and I started running. And I was generally athletic, it was not that I had to make myself, but of course, it's a habit for us. Then I picked up running, and that became my meditation. So, and I run alone, and there are many people who say, come in the group, and I was generally up. That's the time for me to be alone. That's the time where I be with myself and think, of course, work comes in also. And I think that time I am at peace with myself. So I love that time. I love that time. I very strictly guard that time. Very strictly guard that time. And that's really picked up. Obviously, it is not just for meditation, but also the physical form of exercise. So then I started running and I started, last year I completed for half marathon. So I started, it became a form of physically keeping myself fit and mentally keeping myself fit. I still do that. So people at work typically say that, would hate to believe that when I say that because I'm a different person. Because if I'm not that different person in work, that my team suffers. In all aspects. But when I'm with myself, I'm like very strictly introvert. If there's a Saturday and given that you have put horror stories about Bangalore traffic, I stay at home in my place, in my probably beach bag and try to read and then spend time with myself as I call it. So that's the way of I kind of get out of my own. I was kind of rejuvenate myself for the Monday, for the next day, and it has been working.
No, absolutely. Amitabh, on your journey, you handled, firstly the armed forces. I'm sure balancing life there is a whole challenge. Italian now the corporate stint. How's it been for you?
The army life was very different, and it does put a strain on the married life, no doubt, because it was a choice because since we get posted every 2-3 years, you're moving out to a different location, whether it is peacetime soldiering or whether you move to a field location like say JNK or whatever. So early on itself, we took a decision because my wife was working, and so she was based in Gurgaon. So we took that call that look, it's going to be a long distance relationship for most of it. And later on, when my daughter came along, that was one of the major reasons. Say about 3-4 years later. So what used to happen was, either I would be coming on a weekend, or let's say maybe after a month or 2 months, I would come in on duty. There in the army, you have a very structured holiday setup. You can take 2 months off, kind of a thing, but spread it out. Or she would get a break from her work, and then most of them would come to where I am. So that's how the family life was working. But then I realized that my daughter being small, she's still only small, but at that time she was about 3-4 years old. I just realized, I'm losing out on her growing up because every time I'm coming on a break, I'm restarting the relationship with her. Because mom is the only permanent factor where I'm a visitor. So that's one of the factors, one of the major factors which I decided on, when I decided to go to the army. I said, look, I need a little more stability because I did not want my wife to leave her work because she had her own job happening and her career aspirations as well. So that was the call which we took. And when it comes to, today, unfortunately, I lost my wife to COVID, so I'm a single parent. So I'm looking after my daughter on my own. It involves work as well. So I definitely need that time off. at times. I'm also work is intense, like I said, in the stage that I am. So for me, sports has always been something which is my space. I play ball today and I play competitively as well. You mentioned one of those YouTube videos which you saw, that I was just luck. But so that is something I've always been doing. Even when I was in the army, I was always into sport. That was my time off. A little bit of running here and there, that was inherent to the profile. I used to keep fit. Even when I became senior, it was more about my own self-respect. I didn't need to pass certain tests or whatever, but that's how I used to be, and that's how I made that. Okay, I need to keep fit. I need to do my own thing. So go for a run or either play some sport. But now I play a lot of golf. That's my time off, right? Completely. I switch off from that time. That time I'm not looking at my phone also. So if somebody, I'm otherwise generally quite active on the phone, but if they know that 3, 4 hours he's not responding to me, I'm doing also something, right? And or at times, at home also, create your own space, read. So that balance is very, very important. So I tend to lean towards more of that efficiency, productivity thing. I'm not going to be working for those many 24 hours, those many hours in a day. But if I can achieve what I can do it in those 4 hours, I'm going to do it in those 4 hours, and that's going to come across. For me, that's most important. That balance is very much there. Without that, you'll burn yourself out. And like what Neha had said, I really, agree with that when she said in the first 4, 5 years, you got to really slog it out. You got to really work hard because that's your base. And that base is most important. If that structure is good, then you're going to be able to, weather everything. But if the structure is weak, you will keep collapsing at various stages, right? So those first 4, 5 years doesn't mean you burn yourself out. It doesn't mean you burn yourself out. You got to work hard, no doubt about it. Okay. But I also understand as a young person, when they come into corporate world, they don't question. At times they're afraid, यार अगर मैं पूछूंगा तो पता नहीं क्या सोचा जाएगा मेरे बारे में कि यार ये काम करना चाहता है या नहीं करना चाहता. But please, that's where I feel as a leader, you should be open to that kind of conversation with people who are working under you also, and that person under you should also have that confidence to come up to you and say, look, I'll do the job. You got to get your job done, right? You got to get a job done. That's a given. But how you can, make it more efficient, how you can, find time to do other things. I give you an example of a kind of, I would say, bad boss, but yeah, inefficient from that point of view. And this was even when I'm talking about when I was in the army. There's no difference out here. My immediate boss, say at 6 o'clock in the evening, was sitting and reading the paper, but not willing to go home because the super boss was sitting in his office. क्यों बैठा है वो पेपर पढ़ रहा है और आई एम आल्सो सिटिंग देयर कि यार अच्छा अभी ये जाएगा तो मैं भी जाऊंगा. ठीक है. So initially first 6, 7 months I didn't question that. यार ठीक है अभी क्या करेंगे, just my bad luck, I'm stuck here. There is no work happening. So you ask him क्या चल रहा है, अभी कुछ है तो यार वो जब जाएगा फिर चलेंगे तो ये कभी भी बुला सकता है. But I'm also sitting here doing nothing. We are just looking at the जबरदस्ती आपने कंप्यूटर ऑन किया. He's actually reading the paper. जब वो चला गया, that there's ये will call him कि साहब चलेंगे, अच्छा चलेंगे, पेपर बंद करो अच्छा. That's not the way. I mean, I think after some time you need to then question and say, look, I've done my job. Can I go? You should be able to ask that question, right? If there is work happening, then please be there. If it's not happening, then please have that courage to question.
Absolutely. I think that helps. That's insightful for all of us. Like, I am a millennial and I have learned to still sort of balance the work life. I think Gen Z should take notes. It's sort of infamous for not putting that hard work. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. But if the people on the stage who are, leaders in their own domains have balanced their work and life so well, no reason why we can't, when we shape our careers. Thank you so much for that. We'll just move to the final segment. And the final segment would be, leading in a dynamic world. So I touched upon Gen Z, of course, there's a new workforce coming in, which has their own sort of expectations as to what a corporate work would be like, what's an environment. They need to be respected, but at the same time, they need to be pushed as well to have their growth. And of course, there's a huge technology landscape that's changing, constantly changing. So I'm sure it's really hard to lead in those sort of changing environments. So would just want to, go around the table, understand how you're dealing with that in your organizations as a personal leader. Of course, we have a great mix on stage in terms of the background you guys carry. So, you're all involved very closely with the technological change as well. So would love to hear your thoughts. We can start with Sanjay if you want to.
So when I first heard of IIFT, like marketing, the so-called digital marketing was fairly expensive or not. So now if I had thought that, you know, I've done my IIFT and got a job and whatever I've learned is enough to get me a career what I want, then I would not use it here for sure. So I think learning is an imperative for everybody. Learning actually doesn't stop as you are following. And what has changed over a period of time, the rate at which the learning has to change is not fairly random. I mean, about Gen AI, ChatGPT, and all this. People say that will take away your job. So it's something which has always been passionate about, and I've been always advocating to people is to just keep learning. You have to keep learning. Otherwise, people will see through. There are people who are reporting into will see through that this guy is an artificial. So they see through and they will start making sure that they pull you and you become inefficient. Now, when I look at the future, how things are going with my personal analysis and also leaning on to some of the analysis that other people have done. And you can see it in the normal corporate model that people have started doing two jobs. And when I'm saying this, it's not moonlighting, I'm talking about officially taking up to activities. I think that is going to be the future of how the world will evolve. Now, earlier they used to call it a T-shaped professional. When I say T-shaped professional, you have one skill, very broad skills, like I know probably more about marketing and then one deeper in terms of digital marketing. But then now, you're not surviving just having only one skill. You should have multiple skills. What I'm saying is, if you're in a technology field, you are a software developer for a fashion, you are once upon a time mainframe for a big thing. But mainframes are a big thing. IBM used to sell mainframes of their mainframe. And there was also a talk saying that no CIO is questioned for buying a mainframe. They can just blindly buy a mainframe because that is what other people do. But when now mainframes ban, we also architecture says, like if I said that, oh, mainframe is the only thing I'll not kind of anywhere, probably I would have not. So you need to build skills in a couple of areas. And how do I do that personally is by reading a lot, interacting with people. And then speaking to even my team members. Like I have a couple of agencies in my team now. And if you read a point that I don't feel that they are lazy, but they ask questions. And I feel that's good. Some of the later generations people don't ask questions, don't question, but the agencies are bold enough to ask questions. Which is very good. So I also kind of speak with them, try to get ready to go direct. So I have to be smart with myself. So I try to get ready to go direct and also read a lot that we are what is happening. We speak to people and tell the doctors I think at a basic level, there are many people who ask, okay, so Sunday this marketing is changing. So which are the exact marketing skills which I should learn now? Should I go and do some Gen AI code so that I am kind of obsolete from all these kind of changes to the happening? And I will say no. I mean, today Gen AI to something else, sure something. And then you will again find like a fish out of water. So I feel that there are some skills, and I call them meta skills which help you to gain some of it. And couple of things which come to mind. There are few, but couple of things that come to mind. One is curiosity. And I think learning starts with curiosity. Somewhere we are all more curious. As a kid, we ask a lot of questions. But somewhere our education kind of stops us being curious. They really discourage us. But then we'll have to be curious. Unless you are curious, then you cannot learn. Unless you are curious to find out things, why these things are happening, then you will not learn. It is quite natural. And I also think that empathy, which Amitabh talked about quite in the first segment, it also comes out of curiosity. It is my curiosity to find what Amitabh is feeling. It's helping me to become empathetic. So these are all connected, and you cannot somehow. Empathy is not just okay, that guy is going through a bad phase, let me be empathetic. It is also about trying to understand what the customer is wanting from you, or trying to understand your design phase, trying to understand what the user is going to get on that page, or trying to develop and trying to understand what that person is going to use the app for, and then designing it for you. So empathy is not just saying, sorry, okay, I'm sorry to hear about your condition or loss or something. It's much beyond. So once you have this curiosity and empathy, then I think you will be in a mindset, you will create a mindset of picking up new tasks, new skills. And then fairly you can, I think fairly you can switch to your career if you are ready to do that. So whatever technology comes your way, I think you have built that infrastructure, which everybody talked about, the first thing you have. So you build that infrastructure to move yourself, to be an actor. So I lean on a lot of books, I lean on a lot of, now there are a lot of other mediums for information which I share, talk to people, so still I don't hesitate and I need to go and like have a drink or a catch up with some of my ex-friends, colleagues who are working at work, they are also happening in there, or pick up the phone and phone up, hey, I heard about this thing happening, we have to dive into all that. These are all experiences, I would say, knowledge nuggets which you can, which can help you learn and be more relevant.
How about you?
If I was to say in the technological world, I'm a dinosaur, yeah. But yeah, so, but like what Sanjay said, curiosity, the willingness to learn. Having, during this period of transition, when I was, in the phase of transiting from the armed forces to a corporate life, I really went out of the way to start learning and relearning, right? Because a lot of changes happened. One of which was doing that executive program out here in IIFT. Understanding how to learn, and obviously, we were passionate about certain things, or always passionate about learning something new. Information security, or say from personally speaking, for me, these were subjects which were risk analysis, management, operations. These kind of things really interested me, so I wanted to read up about it. I wanted to, undergo a couple of certifications during this COVID period. Learn some new skills. In fact, that was one of the major reasons which resonated with the company I joined. That look, even after having a full career in the armed forces of 20 plus years, this guy is still willing to learn and pick up some new skills. That is most relevant to you guys as well, right? That we are not going to stagnate. I mean, I've done my MBA and that's just about it, and this is going to carry me forward. No, it's not. You are going to have to keep reinventing yourself. You're going to have to keep learning. And when I suggest that you pick up subjects which you are passionate about, rather than just do it because X is doing it or Y is doing it, so I also must do it. So what do you like? What is it that you want to be passionate about, right? Whether it is technology is a given. It's, like I said, if I'm a dinosaur, I have made that effort. Everything today is on our dashboards, technology is used in a very heavy way with devices, products being developed. I need to be up with it as to what's happening, what are the changes happening. I need to learn about it. So I put in that extra effort. Because I don't come from that background, I come from a very non-tech background. So I need to put in that extra effort. But yeah, I did it willingly because I always had that curiosity, as what Sanjay said about picking up something new, learning something new. I'm still doing that. I'm still doing that. I feel that okay, I need to now do something else, or let me change my profile where I can learn something new. I've been in operations for 4 years. Let me see what I can, I know what my core strengths are, what I'm good at, and how can I leverage that and further embellish it. So I feel you need to keep upskilling, keep learning. Learning is a constant, which is a word we always use, but I feel that's actually most important.
For you, I think we have an added layer because you were part of Meta now with Google, so you are very close to technology shaping future as well.
So I resonate with a lot of things that everyone said. I think one is to keep stepping out of your comfort zone every now and then to throw yourself a challenge. If I look at my career, it's gone all the way from classic CPG marketing to B2B marketing to now sales and tech, etc. So it's been with that comes, of course, you learn a lot, but you also kind of question yourself initially. I also faced what we call the imposter syndrome, where I even really deserve to be here, etc. But with time, you sort of upscale and you get better. So completely resonate on changing comfort zone every now and then. Yes, I think we're in the midst of a huge change. And in fact, to be very honest, one of the things that motivates me every morning to pick up my car and drive all the way to go down to work is that I have the privilege to work in an organization that is shaping, the next big change, and it gives me a lot of assurance that okay, fine, I'm going to be relevant for another 5 to 10 years. So I think sometimes it's luck, but you can also work yourself towards some of these and be a part of these changes. Don't run away from these changes. That's what I would encourage each one of you to do. That if let's say there is such a big change that is happening, don't be afraid of it. Don't sit back and say that I don't know what I will do. Just be, all of these organizations that we represent are in some way going to get affected by GenAI. And the thrill is to be in the ride. And all I can tell you is things won't collapse. It's not like people are going to be out of jobs. I think it's just that newer skill sets will get built, newer muscles will get built, jobs that would happen in manner X earlier will not happen in same way. So it becomes even more important for each one of you to really become experts and get into the habit of forming a point of view. Because the information collation and the synthesis a machine will do way better. That's the change. See, at our times, there was value in being somebody who could compile things together or join the dots or make marketing talk to finance and sales. You don't need that skill set anymore. What you need the skill set for is the so what. I work with a lot of clients, and maybe when we look at the GenAI applications, one of the big things in marketing that is changing is that you will now have a machine that will churn out creatives. You would earlier have a marketing agency, where people's job would be to do design and to build creative. So as a marketer or a brand manager, I had a role. I had to prepare a brief, I had to prepare the brand guidelines, I had to then share it with my creative agency. Creative agency would give me 5 layout options. Then it was my job as a brand manager to evaluate those. I had decision-making power. I would choose one, so on and so forth, right? Then hand it over to legal, hand it over to packaging. So there was a job. Cut to today, all of this will go away from a brand manager's job. Because the brief will now go to a Bard or a ChatGPT or whatever equivalent, and it will generate creatives. So the job that used to take 2 weeks or a month will now get done in a few minutes. But does that mean you're redundant? No. But as a brand manager, you will start now thinking, so what? Which markets do I go to? Which segments? So that the machine will not be able to. Think of GenAI as making mundane jobs easier so that you can do what you do best as humans, just think. So even when you're studying subjects in college, please build the habit of forming a point of view. And forming a point of view to the extent of having conversations with people. So let's say you're studying e-commerce as a subject or foreign trade or whatever. If you were in a room filled with e-commerce experts or bureaucrats, what are the 3 conversation points? Because that machines will not be able to replicate. So go deep, build a PV, and then you'll be fine.
Yep, absolutely. I think points to be taken for all of us. Thank you so much for patiently and insightfully answering all the questions. We'll just open it to all of you guys. If there are a couple of questions we can take before wrapping it up. So if anyone has questions, feel free. We're good? Things are good. So before we wrap up, just because all 3 of you are our alumni, just one quick test campus memory that you had. We can go around the table.
In my case, it was always stepping out for the coffee outside. So, particularly in this weather when it is sunny outside, so yeah, I used to look forward to that. Either come to the class and move out and sit there outside and have a good one.
Correct, but I was reminded of that when I was walking.
Yeah.
In the second year, I don't know whether you heard, we had to take a board exam. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
had it.
I took French just like 95% of the class because apparently we can show that math is also math. So yeah, there was I think Spanish and so I remember just after the campus placement, most of the batch was people are not entering classes, but that time hardly anyone. So the man came up and I was the only one. Then I was outside the room thinking that okay, now the man will say, okay, you're there, we can't do it. So then she came up and then she told, okay, you are the only one here. I said, yeah. Where is there? I said, there should be in the hostel. I said, I'll go and call them. She said, no, you stay here. I will go and call them and come. But still, this still, the funny memories, but this still kind of, I remember it once in a while and probably have a smile or two.
Yeah, I think lots of memories, the chaos during placement time, classroom sessions. But the funny memory is, I don't know if you guys still have it. We used to have an early morning yoga class. That still happens, and it
Is
used
that
to be
happening? No, they look happy that it's not happening.
yeah, I don't know, like it came and went. I cannot recollect very well, but it used to be at this unearthly 6:37 in the morning. And I showed up for it, and the favorite time was when that sir used to say Shavasana, and everybody was just like lying down and closing your eyes, and then he would get an asana to change, and there'd be two, three people who would just be snoring. So I just remember that as again, one of those where you just look back and smile. But yeah, lots that I remember, lots unfortunately that I've forgotten as well. But coming back here brings back a lot of those forgotten memories. I mean, this was where we got all our, whatever that graduation ceremony, etc. So when I walked in here, that came back. So thank you for bringing us here.
No, sure. I think thanks to the alum so thank you to all three of you. Thanks for answering all the questions. There's a lot of insight. I'm sure we'll carry a lot of lessons. Thanks to you guys for being a patient audience. Thank you so much, and thanks to the alum for putting this together. I think Shubham, Vaibhav, Janvi, Tanmay, and the alum. Thanks so much.
Very big thank you to the entire panel here. I think it was really insightful to listen to your entire journeys about leadership, about how we can inculcate different values to make leadership more empathetic, more human. Maybe whatever we've heard here today, maybe we not understand the gravity of the situation right now, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But 1 year down the line, 3 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you remember that one fine Sunday morning you sat here, one of our esteemed alumni said these things, and it will all come back to you during that time. So I think this has been a very big value add session for everyone. So thank you to the panel, thank you to the audience. And with this, I would like to invite the alumni coordinator, Anjali Rajput, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Last year was the first time we introduced newspaper as an offline conclave dedicated to and held around women. We hosted an all-women panel, gaining insights into the lives of accomplished active women leaders. This year, our team decided to expand the focus to encompass leadership as a whole. As future leaders embarking on our managerial journeys, we felt it fitting to explore this broader perspective. But these ideas would remain ideas if not for the distinguished guests we hosted today on this panel. I extend a heartfelt thanks to our panelists. Neha ma'am, your emphasis on leadership, flexibility, transparency, and equity resonates deeply with us. Your personal stories about navigating challenges and transitions within sales and marketing offer both inspiration and practical guidance as we embark on our careers. We are grateful for your insights and the confidence they instill in us to tackle any challenge ahead. Please accept our token of gratitude.
How much would this? Thank you, sir.
Amitabh, sharing your initial apprehensions from a demanding journey in the army served as a powerful reminder for us. It highlights the importance of stepping outside our comfort zones while maintaining empathy and compassion, qualities essential for effective leadership. We appreciate your openness and the valuable lessons you share. Thank you, sir. Sanjay sir, I hope everyone is aware that Sanjay sir was also the alumni of the year awardee for us this year. Your humorous anecdotes and candid conversations were not only entertaining but also incredibly insightful. Your emphasis on authenticity and approachability in leadership was a key takeaway for us. While there you used to meet your sarcastic manager, your genuine and relatable style resonated deeply with us. Thank you, sir.
I have a very double bag.
Last but not least, we would also like to thank our moderator, Mr. Nitin Kapoor, for once again graciously accepting our invitation to IIFT and making time for us in your team. With that, I would also like to thank the IIFT administration, the Division of Alumni Affairs, Ms. Kavita ma'am and Ms. not here. And of course, our head of Division of Alumni Affairs, Ms. Nandini, for facilitating this wonderful event and giving us this opportunity. Lastly, also as I stand here for probably one last time as the alumni coordinator in my tenure, I would like to thank my team, ERP, I can't. Thank you, everyone. And I'm very thankful to your continued contribution to the matter of Alumni Affairs. And as we pass the baton of ARC to the junior team, we are hopeful that you will take us to your hand. Thank you very much. Yeah, please continue.